My name is James Lamb from Lincoln, Nebraska. And for part of today from Mariposa, too. Yeah! But my team was gone, so they took care of me, so I appreciate that very much. I've been coming, I came here once when I was in high school, like a lot of you, junior, senior in high school, but then I came back as a leader. I don't know how long it's been, 6, 7 years ago. And then since then, coming back on one of these trips, we also come during the fall doing construction trips. And so usually my role is some part of, taking care of people, making sure they get where they need to go. And this year we got a medical team, and so I'm in charge of keeping my girls safe.
Anyone's calling you Papa or Dad?
No, that's a different group, actually.
Show him the shirt, James. Show him the shirt.
All right. Well, hey, settle down. Come on. Doing business here. Come on, man. So, last year, James, you definitely had an experience that kind of shook you up a little bit. Will you kind of explain a bit of what happened to you last year?
Okay. In the fall trip, so this is back in November, we came into town like we usually do. And generally what happens is we always come back here, get to the camp after we travel down from San Diego, and then me and a few friends will run up into town and get some ice and water and get those kind of things. Well, it was at the same time, and it's happened before, it's at the same time as the Baja 1000. And
This is a dirt race that goes on down here.
Yeah, so you guys have probably seen some of the trucks running around town. It's those big, souped up, beautiful trucks. Well, that high hill up there where it says 5 miles an hour, it's just right here, right as soon as you go out the camp and go up the first hill where that cow-looking barn is that you guys see there. All the way at the top, we were going up over that, and one of the Baja racers, who apparently didn't know the rules, was going over 50 miles an hour, and we met each other at the top of the hill and hit head on. They threw us back, I don't know how far it was, 100 feet, 100 yards, something, and backwards. It was my brother and myself in the vehicle. My brother didn't have a seatbelt on and did a flip, and then inside the vehicle, and then he had, a massive amount of cuts, and had a huge cut on the back of his head. I unfortunately was trapped in the vehicle, and I remember every moment of it, but I remember the contact. I don't remember the flying through the air and going backwards, but when I came to, I was trapped at my waist, hanging upside down, and my arm was hanging down, and the medical term would be degloving, but my arm was hanging off, just a big chunk. The bone wasn't broken.
Sorry, I just heard some buzzing. So just making sure the swarm wasn't coming at us.
Cool. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, watching your back, man. Watching your back.
So I'm hanging there. There's a hunk of flesh on the ceiling of the vehicle, and I can see the bone and muscle and blood poking. What was kind of funny though is
I'm laughing already. I'm so laughing.
We have to go. I need an interpreter reminded me we need to go to that house and ask. My brother was trying to get me out, and of course, and I'm laughing about it now, but he was very panicked, and he has a lot of emotional scars because his brother's trapped in a vehicle and he can't get me out. And so I don't want to make too light of this, but a gentleman that I assumed he lived at the house because he was there right away crawled underneath, and I was very euphoric and peaceful, and I was, hey man, can you tie my arm off? And he was getting up underneath there, and he tied my arm off. I joke, but it was within 2 minutes. There was another Baja racer behind that had 4 medically trained Marines in it. And so they came up over the hill, came on the site, and went to town. And I was trapped at my hips. I broke my hip, damaged the nerve, and so if you see me walking around, I have what we call a pimp limp.
It's okay. Straight pimping, man. It's all right. It's all good. It's all good.
It kind of looks like I'm walking to music, but I'm not. It's just
Joy of the Lord right there.
My legs were trapped. I was hanging upside down. My chin was hanging out, like right here. There's a really cool scar that's in by my beard that was hanging.
Oh, that's pretty wicked, man. That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I wish you guys could see that.
Yeah, it's right on the beard line, so it works out just perfect. But so I'm hanging upside down, and for 2 hours I was trapped. They were trying to get the medical team there, and so they were holding this, trying to get this. They tourniqueted my arm. They did a bunch of cool Marine stuff. and my leg, like I said, were smashed together, and they actually had to cut open both sides of my legs. And they thought at the beginning that I was going to lose my arm, lose my leg, if I lived. So they got me out. They took me to the hospital. In 10 minutes you can't talk about the 10,000 miracles that happened from there to there, and the team taking care of us. But I mean, it was, since that time, it's been the hand of God walking me through absolutely everything I did. So.
Now, your recovery, can only imagine, but what was that like? I mean, how was the time frame? What kind of things have you gone through since then?
I was in the hospital fortunately I was in the hospital in Mexico. The doctors were fantastic in Mexico, but it's just you guys have seen, they have no resource. I mean, nothing to work with. So they're brilliant doctors. They had my leg in traction with 2 tequila bottles. And so this is at the nice hospital. This is at the nice hospital.
Talk about drunken ladies.
That's right. I was in a hospital in San Diego for a month. The recovery physically, of course, that hurt, but it was actually hardest on my family. My wife was out here with me for a month. We had just had a baby, and I have a 7-year-old daughter that were back in Lincoln, so we didn't see him for a month. And we knew it was going to take that long, but they just kind of kept saying 1 more week, 10 more days. And we kept trying to talk them into letting us fly back. And then as soon as I got back to Lincoln after a month, I went into a rehab center. Physically, we got out of the wheelchair way faster than sooner. I was on a walker I had a cane for not that long, walking months before I was supposed to. But I had to deal with a lot. Not mentally shot down, but there's actually a lot of questions. Having been to Mexico, having been to other poor countries, it was almost kind of if you can save me, why don't you, save someone, why don't you take care of these kids, or why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that? So, but that's got us to a lot of good conclusions, brought me, my wife, my family, and a lot of my friends closer together, and gave me the ability to share God in a whole new way with a lot of my friends. So.
And that was kind of my next question is, how has it impacted your family and your life back home once you returned? How's that impact been?
I'd like to say I've kind of had that outlook before, but it's almost like, to use a term from friend Carl, is poke the bear. I knew what we needed to do as Christians, and I had done part of it. It kind of comes from a worldview of understanding that, Matthew. Yeah, I thought you were going to actually read it, and that would have been funny, because hope and justice for your kids' names are very important words for me.
Yeah.
In Matthew 25, at the end of Matthew 25, it's the final judgment. He's separating the sheep and the goats, and he's saying, you that are going to inherit the kingdom are the one that fed the hungry,
That's right.
Whatever
you did to the least of these.
Yeah,
right?
whatever you did to the least of these, you did for me.
Yeah.
And so you have that worldview for it, and so you start to understand that the bad things that happen to me isn't, it could have been God, said, hey, I want this to happen, so this will happen. But at least we know that Satan's out. It's the principalities, it's the powers, it's what we're fighting against. And when you kind of have that understanding that that's what you're fighting against, it's almost like something like this stirs that even gives you more vigor, gives you more desire to work harder for that, because there is going to be that day. It's a day.
Yes,
it's a day that's going to happen, and when we get there, we want to be tired. We don't want to be well rested. So
that's right. Now, this whole ordeal had to have made an impact on your decision for coming back. What was that like? What was that process like of deciding to return? Just you said November, so what is it? 8 months?
7 months.
What was that like to consider coming back to Mexico?
I think it took a week in the hospital bed to realize I wanted to come back. So.
Amen.
Yeah. No, I kind of joke is a lot of people have asked, a lot of friends go, you're going back to Mexico?
Yeah.
Kind of one thing to understand too, and probably since there's a lot of parents of kids who send their kids to Mexico and think that can happen. It was an American got hit by an American in an American race, a bunch of rich people running around in a poor country, doing whatever they want to do. So it's not like they come to Mexico and that's likely to happen, but it was, it stirred the desire to come back to Mexico. Couldn't get wait to get back here. So yeah, in that regard.
Oh, well, amen. James, we are so thankful that you are here.
Thanks for
to be able to be a witness for Christ and His amazing power, and for us here on the Azusa staff and myself, we just consider you to be an amazing inspiration, and you are an encouragement to us. And so we have a Barnabas shirt.